Welcome to Module 7, where we're going to look at some report features like advanced reports. But we'll look at some pre-made district reports that exist for you to run that are as easy as clicking a button and generating the data that you're seeking. We can look at some test history reports that are available as well through Focus, and then custom advanced reports. I'm going to teach you how to create and save reports in your own portal that you'll be able to run anytime. So if you were interested in running grade checks or attendance reports or IEP reeval date reports, and you wanted to run those at the first of every month, you can create the report, save it, and then anytime you want to run it, just open the report and click run, and it'll pull in new data from AS400. So first, we're going to take a look at some of the pre-made reports that exist from the district for you. So to find those reports, we'll come over here to our side navigation and click on reports. And we're going to click on district reports. District reports will open up this directory on the side. And there's really two that we're going to focus on here. One are grade reports, so reports that really deal with the grade information and the data that's stored within the grade book, or user reports, which will be helpful to find out things like how many parents you have registered in the parent portal, etc. So to run any of these, we can click on, and we're adding them in as we go. So the list will continue to grow and grow as we go. But if I look at some grade reports, so I can run current gradebook checks that would run grade data, and this one is run with ethnicity data, or a current marking period grade with ethnicity data, FA report for a full year or semester, missing final grades, teacher completion reports, students live gradebook grade check. So that's what students actually have in the gradebook right now. So if I was interested in identifying students with a D or an F in the gradebook currently, so I could try to get some corrective action in place to get those grades up, I could run that report. Also, students posted marking period grade. So this is after it's done and over with, who failed first semester or who failed the second quarter. We can also do teachers and their total assignments by category or weighted grade books that don't add up to 100%. So that's something I check a report I put on at the beginning of the year just to make sure that all of the grade books are weighted properly. So I'm going to just tell you one example in here. They all kind of operate the same, but let's say I was interested in using the district report that's been built to check the current marking period grade for the first semester so we can see who has passed and who has failed. So I go to this report. If I want to run it, I just simply go over here and click run. It's going to open up this really nifty window here, and it's going to ask me what criteria do I want in the report. From here, I'm interested in students with D's or F's, so I can pick a D. And it asks me for another grade if I want to. I can choose F's. So this would generate a report with D's and F's. And then I could say the marking period. So maybe I'm interested in those for semester 1, or I could do it for quarter 2, etc. In this case, I'm going to do semester 1 and then click run. So this is now generated the student's last name, their first name, their student ID, the course and section, the course title, the marking period grade, and also the percent. So sometimes it's helpful to know, is it an F, like is it a 58 F or is it a 10% F? That's important to know. So it will give you those data there. We also have their cohort or their grad plan date, and then the teacher that issued that grade. Now we can sort these by any of the columns by clicking on top. So if I was interested in sorting this list by course, I could sort it by course. I could sort it by last name. I could go over here and sort it by cohort. I want to find my seniors right now, my 2020s that have failed or have a D or had a D, etc. So this is just a nice way to get the data at a couple clicks. Yeah, I can always export this to Excel, or I can print it right here from the top. I'm going to close out of that report. If I wanted to run that same report with ethnicity data for the marking period, I can come up here to this one, click run. I could select who has a D or an F in the marking period, and I could select semester one, run the report. It'll generate these data, but in this case, we're running the report with ethnicity data built in. So they're as easy as that to run. So those are the grade reports. You can look at course history reports as well in there. The other type of reports are user reports that are pre-built. So here's where we could get a students without. The interesting one here is students without parent accounts. So this is it would generate a list of kiddos whose parent has not registered for parent portal yet. So I could click run on that, and it would generate a list of all of my students whose parents do not have a account created yet within Focus. So those are the district main reports. They exist here under district reports, and we'll be adding those to it as we go along. There's also some test history reports that I'll take you to, and those live under assessment. I'm just going to click my little icon there to go back to my portal, and I can go up here to assessment, and here's where I can run a test history report. It's going to ask me to select the test that I'm interested in. So maybe I was interested in algebra. So there's the FSA algebra test. I could click on that. I could look for an individual student. I could look based on parsing it down to 9th, 10th grade or 12th grade students. So maybe I'm interested in running this for 12th grade students. And I hit search. It will generate a list of all the administrations for my 12th grade students. And it also gives the raw score there, which I could sort by. And there's my level ones for the algebra FSA in there. I also have what's nice is it gives me their breakdown here of the actual strands. So if this was ELA, I could be looking at the knowledge of integration and ideas. I can sort by those columns as well. I can also click on the list to show students who have not taken a particular assessment. And here I have 33 administrations that were not given for 12th graders. That's something I want to take a look at, especially as a testing coordinator, to make sure all those kids have taken the FSA Algebra EOC. So we can go back to the search screen. Remember, I can pick any of the tests up here. I can also start to type it in. So maybe I'm interested in ELA. So there's the FSA ELA. I could search by an individual kid, or I could just search. And when I do so, it'll generate it student-wide. And each time the assessment was given, and then we have that strand data here, which is really helpful to have, and then the total of text-based writing points, etc., because I've chosen an FSA ELA. It'll show each time that that test was administered. I can also filter this, any of these if I wanted to, and I can add a rule. So if I was interested in the total score or the achievement level that was less than a 3, I could filter this list and run a filter. And this would generate a list of just students who have that total achievement level below a 3. So I can filter out that data. Remember, I can always export to Excel from here and hand that off to the appropriate stakeholders at my school. So that's test history report. I got here under assessment and the test history report. This other test history there is to pull up individual student information about test history. So the last thing I'm going to take you to are advanced reports, and this is where I can create a report and save that for my very own. And I'll give you one example, but you can get in there and tinker around and find all kinds of information in there. So I'm going to create kind of a weird report just so I can show you all the fields that we can bring in. But to do that, I want to create an advanced report. So you think we go to reports here, but don't go to reports when you want to create this report. This is where you'll have your saved reports. After I've created it, it would populate in a list here for me. But I'm interested in creating a report on student data. So I would go to the Students menu and click on Advanced Reports. And because I'm interested in student data, I go to Students and Advanced Reports, and I can click on Advanced Reports. Now remember, from the left-hand side here, I've said this 100 times, I'll say it 100 more, you can parse total student enrollment by various criteria here from AS400, and I want to. But in this case, I'm going to leave it just as school-wide. If I put no choices here to parse enrollment, I'm just going to get school-wide data. So let's say in this report, I'm going to do this for my ESE contact or coordinator, and they want to run a report at the beginning of every month, or I want to run a report at the beginning of every month that has a student number, the student's first name and last name, the primary contact's name, the primary contact's address, email address, phone number, the IEP plan date, and the IEP reeval date. And I want to put that all in one report. And if you try to do this in AS400, those are 3 or 4 different panels that I've already named off, but this is going to generate that data in one nice panel for you. So let's go ahead and create that report that I just kind of splurted off there. So here are the fields to include in the report, and each one will turn into a column. Here's if I create those advanced student groups, which is the next module coming. I could go ahead and run it just based on those. But let's say I want to add in the information. So I'm going to go here under student demo, and I'm going to put in the first name, and I just click this little plus button, and the last name, and see it moves it over here to what to include in the field. I want their student ID. Let's say I wanted their grade level as well. So I can close that menu by doing that. And I wanted their primary contact information, primary contact's name. Let's grab their cell phone, their email address, their address, city, state, and zip code. And then I was interested in some IEP information. So I could go over here under ESE. I could add their program code in if I wanted to, and I could do the plan date and the reeval date. So here's all the information that's in my report that I want. And all I have to do now is click Run Report. And it will go through. I didn't parse total student enrollment, so it's going to give me the report for every kiddo on my campus. And we can look over here, we see we have no ESE code. So obviously that student's not going to have an IEP, but if we look over here to this student, now the primary contact information will be populated for you in production. I'm in Sandbox, which has names scrambled, so I lose that parent data, but you would have the parent's name, all the information that I listed off to you there. And see, we have here their code, IP, date, and the eval date. Let's say, this is a great report, but I wanted the student number in the first column, and I wanted to add counselor information in there as well. And then I only want to sort by students who actually have a 113 program code. So I can take this report and I can modify it, which brings me right back to the screen where I created it. So from here, I can remove fields. So let's say I'm only interested now in mom's name, and I don't care about the cell phone number, email address. I can X those out, and they will be removed as columns from my report. I can also grab something if I wanted student ID first, and I can pull it up, and that would show up in the first column of the report. I could run that report again. If I wanted to add those more search options, so maybe just my 9th grade students that have a program code of 113, I could do that, and I could run report. Now it's going to pull up 112 students in ninth grade with a 113 program code. And there's all of their plan dates and reeval dates. And if, like I said, if I were in production, this would have real parent names and addresses, etc. in there. So pretty neat stuff. Oh, but I wanted to add counselor information. It'd be nice if I could add the counselor on there. Not a problem. Go back to modify report. I have this whole huge list over here of things to hunt for, but I don't know where counselor is in all of this. So I can go over here to search the fields, counselor, and I can just start typing in counselor, and we see we have counselor. I can add that in there, and maybe I wanted that to be right after their student ID. I could bring that up, and it would generate the report. Well, let's say I was printing something out, and I was trying to give it to period 1 teachers. So I could also go ahead and start typing period, so if I can type correctly, period 1 teacher, and there's the period 1 teacher. I can add that to my report. It comes down here in the bottom. Let's say I wanted that to be the first column, and I run this report. Now it's going to generate that. I didn't parse it, so it's going to give me for every kiddo here, but we see now we have the period 1 teacher where I've added it, the student ID, the counselor, first, last name, and here's a student with their dates. All right, so now the report's perfect. It's kind of the way I want it, but it's not. So I want to go back and modify it one more time. I can keep going back as many times as I want. I can modify this report for my search options for all of my students that have a program code of 113s, 254s, 255s. Run the report. And here we go. Nice report all here. The beautiful thing is I can export this to Excel. Even more powerful than that is I can actually create this report and save it. I go to create report. I'm going to call this the ESE IEP report, and I click OK. Now it has saved this report for me. So how do I access that saved report that I've just created? Because I want to run this at the beginning of every month so I can make sure that I've caught any new students transferring in and out, etc. I can go over here to reports, and we see here under my reports, I have that ESE IEP report. If I click on it, boom, there's the data it's generated for me. Okay. So that's just a really neat way to work with advanced reports. And remember, I don't get to them to create them under reports. I go to students, I go to advanced reports. That has this information in here. If I wanted to find out the fields, I wasn't sure. So maybe I could just start typing here, student ID. And so student ID. If I exit out, I have these here. I can do first, last name, add that report in there. So maybe I'm interested in their period 1 teacher. I just want to generate a list of period 1 teacher. And maybe I want to do their period 1 grades. I could do the current gradebook grade. I could drop it in there. Pretty neat. What if I wanted absences? Let me do this one differently. I go down here to absences, because that's a really easy one to find, and I want their absence, the attendance in the current marking period. So I want their total days absent. So I have student ID, period 1 teacher, gradebook grade, total days absent. I could go through and add period 2, period 3, period 4, and use that as a progress monitoring report. I run that report. Boom. Here we go. We have student number, name, period 1 teacher, the grade, and the number of absences that student has. And I could sort these columns if I wanted to. Let's see if there's a correlation between days absent and gradebook grade. So 7 days absent of this quarter already. And then we can see there's 39s, no grade, zeros, 52, etc. If I like the report, I can save it, but if I wanted to run that and look at the effective date, I could also change that effective date to go back to the first day of the quarter or the last day, etc. You can tell it where to go back and look for that data. If I want to create the report, I can save it here. So this is progress monitor. Click OK. And over here under reports, we see there's progress monitor. I could click on that and it's going to generate the report. Well, let's say after I've saved the report, what's nice is you can still go back and modify it. So I can go over here to modify report. Here's where I can change those columns, add columns, delete columns, run report again. And now that report's been modified. So that is advanced reports. Super powerful to be able to combine multiple panels in AS400 and have them show up in one place in a report that you can save and run anytime that you want.